how do you go about dialoguing with somebody who has these beliefs? Maybe there's a common starting point. Is there any specific strategy that you would use to try to get people to see, from a Christian perspective versus a New Age belief?
It's often struck me that probably the first time this hit me is in college. I did a paper on Zen Buddhism, and when I read that book, that Zen Way, Jesus Way, and I think I got it at least as much as a Westerner can get it. It's like it dawned on me, oh my gosh, there's no way you could ever prove to someone who's a monist that, in fact, I do exist, and they do exist. Because whatever you did, you would think you're proving that there's those multiple things. They would simply easily interpret that as part of the weird dream or movie that we're watching. In my less mature moments back in my 20s, I thought, well, what if you just took their head and bounced it off a brick wall for 24 hours?
Is that real?
Is that real? And they could, with blood running down their head, go, no, that's part of the dream. There's just no way out of it. So there's no easy way of breaking through. Just like there's no easy way for them to convince someone like me that does think we all exist that we don't. I mean, they're really distinct worldviews. That's the whole point we're trying to really make tonight. These are really two different worldviews. I suspect my hope would be, I guess as a Christian, my theory would be, because I am convinced as a personal God who's created all of us for love relationship, that deep inside every human being, including every pantheist, is a hunger to be loved. And I think I would start the conversation not at let's argue metaphysics, but let's talk about you and your life and maybe that hunger for love relationship. I think I'd approach this relationally before I do it philosophically.
If it doesn't work relationally, then go to philosophy. What I have found is of some help. Well, actually, it hasn't been that successful, but it's the only thing I know how to do, honestly. But see, here's the thing. Nobody's consistent with this. Nobody lives like this. I think it's a belief system that is impossible to live out consistently. So I try to help people see, while expressing unconditional, unexpressible worth toward them, loving them, because they do need to be loved, but to get them to see the contradictoriness of their own position, like I did with this relative of mine. You really believe that, don't you? Absolutely. Pay attention to that. Now, he got really mad. He just got very angry. And I was trying to do it just gently, but so, you can't determine what the response will be. I try to help people see that they're not escaping their belief systems by claiming they're escaping their belief systems. Like, for example, it's been the mantra on college campuses more or less for 30 years that all truth is relative, we can't make absolute truth claims and things of that sort. Everyone's got to find their own way and things of that sort. And yet they haven't thought about why they think that. They feel open-minded by believing that. They feel enlightened for believing that. They feel like you're a moron if you don't agree with that. But they just know that this is the truth. If you can ask them, why do you think that is true, and begin to probe a little bit, because most of them are just repeating mantras that they heard from Oprah Winfrey or a college professor. If you can wake them up to their indoctrination, you can begin to help them. I use an analogy sometimes with folks where it goes like this. Suppose there's 4 people out walking in the woods, and they follow a path, and in the middle of the woods, they get tired, and they fall asleep on the ground. They wake up a little bit later to the smell of smoke, and they realize that the forest is on fire. The first 3, one person says, here's the path we need to go down. They can't remember what path they went down, maybe partly because they're already partly asphyxiated. But so they start arguing about which path to take. One person says, here's the right path. Another person says, here's the right path. Another person says, here's the right path. And the fourth person goes, you guys are all a bunch of Western rationalistic modernists. Don't you know that all the paths will take you out of the woods eventually? Well, here's the thing. Analyze the situation. And you don't have forever to think about it because the woods is burning. So you analyze the evidence. Can you give arguments for which path you should go down? all other things being equal, there's a probability, we know one of the paths will take you out of the woods. You don't know about the other two. But the person who says all paths will take you out may be right, but they may be wrong. And the probability of their being right is exactly the same as the other ones. To say all paths will take you out is to make a truth claim as much as to say one path will take you out, but not the other ones. It's as much of a belief, as much of a truth claim, and really as narrow and as intolerant as any of the other beliefs. If they're not willing to look at what makes a belief open or close is not how the content of the belief, but it's about how you hold it. Are you willing to give reasons for it and listen to other people's reasons? But it's a mantra where people just feel open-minded and liberated and enlightened because they're holding to a particular belief without realizing it's a particular belief. So help them kind of wake up to that.